and welcome to another teaching tip from BYU Hawaii's Edward D. Smith Center for Learning and Teaching. In today's tip, I'm going to share with you 3 ways you can use reflection to improve your teaching for next semester. So let's get right to it. Tip number 1 is to predict your students' final exam scores. So for this tip, you're going to have to act fast because our final exams are coming up. And before your students take the final exams or before you see their scores or their performance on the test, what you need to do is go through your class and try and predict each student's score for that final exam. And then after you do that, then when you get their scores back, then you can compare your prediction to their actual score on the final exam. And then use this reflection question right here. The question is, what could I change in my teaching to help me better predict students' final exam scores? Now that might seem like a weird thing to think about for you, but teaching is really, there's three main components to teaching. And the first one is our goals for teaching, whether that be our course learning objectives or the learning objectives for a class, the class period that we're teaching, or objectives for an assignment, what we want students to learn from doing a specific assignment. The second component is the learning activities. And those are the things that we ask students to do. What do students do to learn the things that we're trying to get them to learn to achieve these learning goals? The third component is assessment. And assessment is ask the question, are they really learning? Are these activities that they're doing helping them to achieve these goals that we've set for them? So assessment is the measure of our success with helping students to achieve these goals. And this reflection question will help you think about all 3 of these processes, but it might help you focus mostly on assessment. So I've done this activity, and to be honest, my first attempt at it was pretty bad. And in fact, it really changed the way I assess students in my classes because I realized I did not have a clear enough idea about what my students knew and what they didn't know throughout the semester. And after I changed my assessment practice, I actually added many more assessment points into the semester so that I could see when students were understanding, when they weren't. I knew when I had to circle back and review things. And that changed. And at this point, after making some of those changes, I'm better at predicting your final exam scores. I'm not perfect. So, I have ways to improve, but it really changed my perspective on what I thought I knew about my own students. So try that. Just predict your students' final exam scores for each individual. Give them a score and see if it matches from their actual performance. Here's tip number 2. Create an anonymous end of semester survey and administer it in Canvas. Canvas has some great tools for doing this. I know the university gives the students course evaluations, and there's 2 general questions, but this is an opportunity for you to ask some specific questions about your course for information that you want to know about. And I'm just going to show you, this is the anonymous survey that I'm giving at the end of my class this semester. And here's the important button. Let me just show you, there's a couple features here in Canvas. This is a quiz. And you can do a practice quiz. That's a graded quiz, what people normally do. There's a graded survey, and a survey has no right or wrong answers. And they get a grade for that, so they get 10 points. And that's what I do so that they feel a little bit compelled to complete it. You can do an ungraded survey where it's worth no points. So that they'll do it, but they don't get any points for doing it. Now, here's the important button. This button right here, keep submissions anonymous. Okay, when you click that button, Canvas will not give you any information about names connected to answers. You don't see any names. It'll just say student 1, student 2, student 3, student 4, and it's in this random order when you're reading all the replies. And I actually tell my students that. I say in the directions here, hey, look, this is an anonymous survey. Brother Wolf cannot see your name attached to any of your answers. So you're free to write exactly what you think and feel. So that way it frees students up. And I get some pretty frank responses to these surveys. And here's some of the questions. And these are the questions there's 4 questions that I'm asking in my class, just to give you some ideas about what you can ask for your class maybe. So what is the most important thing that you learned from our EIL 343 class this semester? Write a paragraph. These are all essay questions. I didn't do any multiple choice. You could use Likert scales if you wanted to do those kinds of questions. But these are all open-ended. And then second question, how will your learning in this class affect your studies for the rest of BYU Hawaii? Because the goal for EIL is for them to use their English in other classes. This class should support their success in other classes. So I want to get them thinking about that, and I want to know what they think. And then the next question is, hey, Brother Wolf's teaching this class again next semester. What's one good thing that he should definitely repeat in next semester's class? And then the last question is maybe the opposite of that. What's one thing that Brother Wolf should definitely change next semester when he's teaching this class? So I usually get some pretty frank answers from these surveys, and I'm going to just click back up here really quick to our learning framework. These Christ-like attributes in the middle of the framework are really important. And if you choose to do a survey like this, I'm just going to point this out humbly. Okay, you have to be humble and very open-minded to read student feedback like that, where you're setting them up to tell you where they can tell you exactly what they think and feel. And you'll get some students that love things about what you do, and you'll get some replies where they're pretty honest about things you need to change. But I'll tell you what, when I have set up surveys like this and I have honestly reflected on all of the comments, both positive and negative, and considered all of them, I have found some profound things to change in my own teaching. If you choose to do this one, create anonymous end of the semester survey, be prepared. Be prepared for some frank feedback, but very helpful, very helpful. So then here's the reflection question. After reading the student feedback, what changes in my teaching do I believe are needed? And you'll get some great ideas for that. Here's the last idea. The last idea is to share your successes, failures, and plans with a teaching buddy. Okay, I'm going to read this quote here. This is right here. This is from a very famous book in the education circles. And this is a book that has synthesized a lot of research on how people learn and how teachers learn to teach. So here's one thing that it says. Accomplished teachers reflect. Okay, reflection. This is a key process here. Accomplished teachers reflect on what goes on in the classroom and modify their teaching plans accordingly. Thinking about teaching is a disciplined, systematic approach to professional development. It is not random. It is not something that you just decide to do because you feel like it. It is planned. It's planned. It's systematic. It is a regular part of your teaching practice. By reflecting on and evaluating one's own practices, either alone or in the company of a critical colleague, that's the key part. Teachers develop ways to change and improve their practices like any other opportunity for learning with feedback. Okay, so another piece of research that this book talks about is that in order for teachers to improve, they need to create a community of practice. And this is a community where you can share your successes and failures and brainstorm ideas for improvement. My experience is the best ideas I've had for changing my teaching have never come from me. They've always come from other colleagues around me. And that's one thing I've loved about being in the CLT. This has been the absolute best, is the CLT creates this community of teachers where people are always sharing new ideas. And I can't tell you how many new ideas I've gotten from other people on campus that have just revolutionized my teaching. Find a community of practice, and specifically just a teaching buddy. I'm just saying one person that you can share your successes and failures with and brainstorm ideas. So here's the reflection question right here. So reflection question is, what worked well and not so well this semester with my students? So just think about that. Like what worked, what didn't, and then email a colleague and make a teaching buddy connection. Just share those successes and failures and see what somebody else had for their successes and failures and brainstorm with them. Now, here's my next invitation. If, because it's systematic, come to the CLT. We've got 3 workshops planned for the end of the semester. Actually, it's 1 workshop that we're offering 3 times. And in this workshop, we can help you find a teaching buddy. So this is our semester end workshop. It's called Reflecting Back, Thinking Forward. There are 3 dates here: Friday, December 4th at 1 p.m., December 10th at 1 p.m. That's right at the end of our final exam time period. And then Monday, December 14th at 10 a.m. That is right in the middle of our grading time before grades are due, right? But take a break from your grading. I know we're all busy and we're trying to get finished and we've got other things on our mind, but take 30 minutes. These are a 30-minute workshop. Put it in your calendar. Email Ari Sorensen. Register for it. Put it in your calendar and just schedule it so that it's systematic, and come and let the CLT help you reflect on your teaching and find a teaching buddy for next semester. All right. Aloha and happy teaching.